How's it going? This is the very first time of me doing this. I'm extremely nervous, but I know God's got it, so
Practice for the next time.
you got that right. Just a little bit about me. This is my second name. I was born in Dover, Delaware in May of 1984. My name was Michael Gavoni. I lived with my biological mother for 3 to 6 years. I was on and off, in and out of the house with friends of hers just because of some of the decisions she's made. At 5 years old, I was at a friend of hers' house. And I was molested. I didn't know how to deal with it. The only thing that I could think of is at 5 years old, I tried to kill the guy. I lit the room on fire. I burnt 85% of the guy's body. And the social services came in and told my mother, they were like, look, you have 4 other kids. We have to take him from you. We don't know what he's going to do. He may cause another fire with all of you in the house. We don't know. So they took me out. At 7 years old, I was placed in a home with Doug and Roberta. I was there for about a year, and they adopted me. Long story short, I've been with them for 24, 25 years. Thank the Lord. I was elementary school. I went through school, and I had issues as a kid, as normal kids have issues going to school. But a lot of it was, for me, was, they're like, well, you live with a family and you don't even have their name. I was still going by my birth name. And then they adopted me, and I changed my name to Dylan. And I've been known as Dylan ever since I was 8 years old. It's definitely kind of different being a pastor's kid, growing up in the household that I did. I've never grew up in that life. I didn't know what being a Christian was, going to church. It was definitely different. For me, it felt like it was forced on me. I know it wasn't now. Growing up, I know it wasn't forced on me, but as a kid, you don't realize that. So, later on in life, I'm 17, 2001, 9/11 happens, and 2002, I decided to go join the military. I wanted to fight for my country because of what had happened to us in 2001. So I joined the military, was having a good time of my life, and again, I was sexually molested in the military at 18 years old. The guy outranked me. He told me, he goes, if you tell anybody, he goes, they're not going to listen to you anyway. He goes, I outrank you. So basically I was screwed. I couldn't say anything to anybody. So you guys and my parents are basically the only ones that know this. I've never told anybody else in my life. It's obviously you want to keep it to yourself, but I know talking about it helps, and it helps get through it. And I know God's going to use my testimony to help somebody else that's had the same life that I've had, or worse. It's hard. So it happens in 2002. The following year, I met my beautiful wife. We've been married for 13 years. We have 2 wonderful kids. They may get on my nerves like most kids, but I love them. It's definitely hard, especially with what I deal with, having PTSD due to MST, military sexual trauma. Because if anything were to happen to those 2 kids like that, I know where I would be. But God has helped me with it to get me through it. It has affected my marriage a lot. Um, we got married in 2003. I was 19, and I seriously did not know how good I had it. I cheated on my wife literally all the way up till, I want to say, two and a half years ago. And it hurt us bad. I mean, we were in California. I was stationed out at Fort Irwin. I got out. We lived in Victorville for a couple years. Life was not good. We were on the edge of divorce, and my dad stepped in and goes, "Hey, I know what he's done. Everybody has pretty much given up on him his whole entire life," and asked her to stick through it with me. And we ended up moving back to Maryland. We were there for 5 years in church with my father, and we got the news probably 7 years ago that God had called them to not be full-time pastors anymore. They went on a missions journey literally for the last 7 years. They've been throughout the country, all over, and being in church with my father helped me. He was my spiritual leader, my guidance. I could go to him, and not being able to talk to him at all. You know, I could call, but I mean, I knew he was always busy. You know, I know God had plans for him, just like I know he has plans for each and every one of us. And we know that, you know, by his will, it'll get done. And it hurt me for the longest time. I mean, I lost my grandmother in '02. I was in the military when I lost her. She was definitely, I looked up to her. A couple years ago, I lost my grandfather. He was a pastor too. I looked up to him a lot. And just 2 weeks ago, I lost my other grandfather, who was a pastor, and it hurt a lot. I actually had to pray because I've seen the pattern before where I would get angry with God because he took somebody I loved, that I looked up to, that they helped me through life. And I had to pray recently that just don't let me be angry with you. Help me to get over it. Help me to just stay focused on you. And it's gotten better. God has helped a lot. The last year and a half, my dad came down about a year and a half ago, and life has gotten good. My marriage has skyrocketed. My kids have started listening a lot better but my dad, it scared me because my dad said that he heard a train horn. And the story behind that is God took them to a place a couple years ago that they literally lived on railroad tracks. So every night they would hear a train horn. And then while they were there, some guy's son got killed by the train. And they stopped hearing this train horn come through there at night. Well, in a spiritual sense, God was telling them that if you hear the train horn, I'm at work here. And then if you don't hear it, you know that I'm not there. Well, about a year and a half ago, my dad came and was there just talking to us and told me, he goes, look, he goes, I hear a train horn here, and I know God's not done with you. So we sat down and talked. I accepted Christ as a young child at 10 years old. We were sitting in our house. We watched Left Behind. I don't know if you all remember those movies. As a kid, it scared me to death. And I think that's what caused me to look forward to God. And I backslid all my life. I joined the military. I got out. of the house that I was in, and I was like, I get to be myself for once. I did everything under the sun and totally knew what I was doing was wrong. I didn't care. And then I've had experiences. I had a dream that would scare the living daylights out of anybody. I was in the desert, and I seriously saw souls flying. I could see souls getting taken up. And I could actually feel mine coming out of my body. It scared me so much. I woke up knowing that if he took my soul, then I was going to hell. It was a real life experience. It scared me straight, even though it didn't last long. But I finally have gotten my head on straight. I've gotten a clear vision. And I know that God wants to use me, for his glory. It's definitely been a long, hard road. Like I said, it's just been the last year and a half. I've come to be with these guys, with the No Men Left Behind guys, for 3 years now, 3.5. And just the last year and a half, things have been starting to get great. I mean, I just know God has just touched me. I've seen it in my life. Greg and Doug and Zach have seen it. I mean, I had a job interview in January. I had to get to Washington State for a job interview. I had no money to get up there. I had nothing. And I just asked the guys to pray, and one of the guys that's actually in our group stepped up and said, "Hey, here's the money. Go buy your ticket." Out of nowhere. I mean, this is in my personal life. This has happened twice. And this has been in the last year and a half. And I just see it more and more each and every day that God just touches me and uses me and helps me to do what he has for me. That's basically all I have. I don't speak long, but I appreciate you guys being here to listen to what I had to say. I thank you, and I love you guys.